Podcast Mike. What's up, guys? Learning with Rich here. In this video, we are going to talk about sharing projects using Worksets. Okay? So we are going to discuss about Workset. So what is this Workset? So Worksets enable team members to simultaneously work within the same project by checking out group of elements specific to their discipline or task. So work sets is a very good way to propagate and coordinate changes among team members. Okay, so basically a work set, it's a collection of elements. So it's like layers in AutoCAD. It's a collection of elements in a building that can be edited by any team member. Okay, so that is what we are going to talk about. So let's start it. So we are going to create a project. So let's say, for example, I am the B manager. So I'm going to set the work shared environment for this particular project. So the process to do that is the first thing that you need to do is you need to start a new project. Okay, for example, I'm the B manager, so I'll be starting a new project. So I select here new. I'll use here mechanical template. So I select mechanical template and then I select here OK. So that's the first step in sharing projects using work sets. So that's the first process. So you start a project that should incorporate all possible organizational and project standards and include most of the families to be used in the project. So when setting up your project, so make sure all the templates are here, the standards, the families are here. Now, after you start the project, the next thing that we are going to do here is we are now going to enable the work sharing in a, environment. Okay, so when multiple team members need to simultaneously work on a project, so you need to divide the project into work sets, which is what we are going to do. Okay, so when a project like this one is ready to be shared, the project coordinator do the work sets or the BIM manager. Actually, the other team members, they can also create the work set, but best practice, just let your BIM manager do the work sets, or if you're going to create one, just inform your BIM manager. Okay, so how to enable the work sharing? So to do that, you just need to go to the collaborate and then you can see there collaborate. Just click that and then you just save the model first. Okay, you have to save the model before you can collaborate with others. All right, so let's just save that and then I'll just override this project that I'm working on. It's just a practice project, so I'll just override this. I'll just change the maximum backup here to 1. Okay, and then I'll select here save. Just override it. All right, just override. Okay, so right after you save the file, you will now see this collaborate dialog box. So you have two options within your network, or if you have a BIM 360 subscription, you can also use this if you want to work on the cloud. Okay, this one you are working only within the network. So if all the team members is in the same building, so this is the best practice to use it, to use the work sharing. So you use the within your networks. So if you are going to collaborate with other team members, different country, different places, not on the same building, so you use BIM 360 there to work with the cloud. All right. So we just use here within your network. So I use OK or I select OK. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do after we enable the work sharing is to create the work sets that we will be needed. So by default, when I select here the work sets, you already have two created work sets. So we have the shared levels and grids that will be including all the grids, all the levels, all the reference plane will be placed under this work set. And then work set number 1 by default, this is the work set that you will be using. You can rename this one. For example, this work set, I want this to be, actually you can also change this one. You can also rename this one. So I'll just rename the workset one. So let's say this workset, I want this to be used on ducting. Ducting, all right? So I'll just select your OK. There you go. So that now becomes your active workset. Actually, it's already the active workset. I just changed the name. So what I want to do, I want to create another workset. Just imagine layers in AutoCAD. So before you start your project, you already have the needed layers, right? So same with your project. When setting up a workshed environment, make sure the worksets that you will be needing is created already. Anyway, you can create that as you do your project. Okay, so for this one, I'll create a piping workset. There you go. As you can see, the owner here as well, since I am the one who activate the work sharing and created the work set. So I am the owner there by default. So don't worry about that. So the computer name will be put here. Just make sure you sign in your Autodesk account here. Okay. All right. So you also have here an option if you want to open the work set, let's say, or close it. Okay, and then you also want to make it visible in other views or not, so you can control from here. Now we have two work sets created here, two service work set, piping and ducting. So let's say I have two other team members that will do the project. So I am the B manager, I'm just setting up the work set. So I will let them use this work set that I have created. Okay, and then what else? Of course, you can still add more workset here. So it depends. So if you're going to create your building service by service per service, so you can do something like this. So if you have an architectural model or a structural model, so you can create another workset for those services or so for those elements. Okay, but for now, I'll just use these two workset here. Okay, so I'm just going to select OK here. So these worksets that we have here, those are user created. Okay, so after we create our workset, so I just select here OK. Do you want to make the piping workset the active workset? So I can select here yes if I want that to be the active workset, or I can select no if I want the ducting to be still the active workset. So anyway, it's correct even if you select yes or no. It's up to you. Okay, so for example, I'll just select no. Just make sure when you create your project, when you start creating your project, make sure the current work set is correct or the active work set is correct. Okay, just imagine you are working on AutoCAD. So before you create your drawings, you put first your current layer, right? So same with Revit. So all the elements that you will be creating will be placed under the active work set. So if your active work set is ducting, even if you're creating walls, floors, pipe, structural elements, text, it will be placed under the ducting work set. Okay, so it will gonna be a messy. So it's not good. It's not a best practice. So make sure you have the correct work set before you start any modeling. Okay. So aside from that, you can also access it here. Okay. So aside from going to the collaborate, because most of the time, since you're doing mechanical here, you will be using the systems tab. So if you want to access the active worksets, you can just change from here. All right. And then you can also click this to open the worksets. There you go. Right? Okay. So now that I have created the work sets that my other two team members will be using, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save now the file to make this as a central file because we are creating a central file. Central file is the master project file that you will be saving into the server. You need to save this to the location where your other team members can access it. Okay, so let's save this central file. So I'm going to save as project, and then I'll select here options, change the maximum backup to 1. Okay, and automatically, since this is the first time we are going to save it after creating the work set, automatically it will becomes the central model. Okay, which is what we want. So we want to create a central model. All right, so let me just select here OK. Make sure to change the maximum backup to 1. Just select OK. And then that's the file name that I want. So for example, just imagine this is the server already because I'm using just one computer. So I'm trying to simulate how it works. Okay, so I'll just use that name, I'll save, and it will now becomes your central file. So that's the next process. You create a central file. So the first part of the process is first you start a project. Next, you enable the work sharing. Next, create additional work sets. Next, create a central file. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, the central file, and then I'll just restore down this one. Okay, I open up two instances of Revit here just to simulate how this work sharing environment do. Okay, so as you can see, there's the symbol of the central model. So for example, this is for your ducting person. This is your piping person. So the next thing that we are going to do after you create the central file is you create a local file. So what is a local file? So local file is a copy of your central file. So local files enable team members to use the required work sets and synchronize their work back to the central file. So meaning to say, you do not work directly to the central model. Okay, you do not open the central file. You create a local file. Okay, so don't you ever open a central file, not unless you are the manager. Okay, do not do that. So you create a local file. So to create a local file, you can copy the central file and then save it on your computer. So to do that, just open and then you select the central file. Go to the server. Just imagine this is the server. And then select the central file, and then as you can see here, automatically create new local here is checked. The reason why this is automatically checked, because if it is unchecked, you will be opening the central file, not creating a local file. So that's why make sure this is checked. Anyway, by default, it's already checked. So we are creating a new local file. So I open this. I'll just override the existing. Excuse. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to save as this one. I'm going to save. The reason why I'm going to save this because I'm going to create another local file here, and it will gonna be using the same file name. Since I'm only using one computer, so it will override this one, and which will create conflict. Okay. Usually I don't change or save as to different file name, but in this case, since I only using one computer, so I need to change the name of this. So this is now already your local file. So let me just save as this one. Okay, but in reality I don't save as and then change the name. It's just here in this training because I only use one computer. So this is my project ducting, and then I'll just save, just replace that. Don't worry. Just remember your local file is saved in your computer, not on the server. Okay, so it should be on your computer. So this is now the ducting. So I'm going to create a local file for the piping. So I select open. Okay, and then look for the central. This is the central file. And then make sure create new local and then open. Just override that. Okay, again, I'm just going to save as this as piping. So save as piping. All right. Oh, oops. All right. There you go. Save. So I now have here the two computers. Okay. So for example, there's the piping, there's the ducting. So before I start, like what I have said, I am now the ducting user. So I go to the collaborate and then make sure the active work set there is ducting. So I can now start to do my modeling. So I select here dock. For example, this is my model, just a simple one. So we're just trying to simulate it. Okay, so there you go. And then modify. Okay, and then let's say the piping is also working. So let's go to the pipe. Okay, example, I'm working somewhere here. Okay, just like that. Okay, now once done, the next thing that you are going to do as a local user is to synchronize your changes to the central file so that the central file will be updated and it will enable to tell the other user or show the other user the updated model as well. For example, for the ducting, I go to the collaborate and then there's an option here, synchronize with central. And then I save here, this one. I synchronize and modify settings. Check that one. All right, so if you see that the user created worksets here is enabled, so just best practice, just check that one so that it will be relinquished. Okay, so that your other team members will be able to edit the elements inside this work sets. So they can also use those elements in that work set. So that's the best practice. So do not own any work set, okay? Because otherwise, if there comes a time that your other team members needs to use the work set or needs to, for example, move a certain object on that work set, they will not be able to do that. So they will always bother you to do this for them. Okay? So that's why best practice in our case, in our company, we just check this one. Because what will happen is it will relinquish the ownership, okay, after synchronizing. So if you notice any workset here is enabled just like this, just make sure you check that so that it will be relinquished. Best practice, okay? So in our case, that's what we do. And it's really effective. So I just select here OK. So now that the central model is updated, what I'm going to do is here, I am now the piping user. So I go to the collaborate and then I'm going to synchronize that as well so that the central will be gonna updated. So what will happen is once I select here OK, look what will happen here. Okay, it will gonna be updated. You see there's now the model that the ducting created. Now on this side, what you can do is, so instead of synchronizing again, although you can do that, just click here, reload latest. Just click that. There you go. So basically that's the process. So the first one is start a project, enable the work sharing, create additional work sets, create a central file, create a local file, and then you can start now your modeling. And then don't forget to synchronize the changes to the central file. Okay, so you just work with the work set. Just make sure before you start to do your modeling, make sure that the current work set is enabled or the active work set is selected properly. Okay, so that is what you do. So basically it's just like that. Okay, so you just do your modeling and then just keep on synchronizing it. Okay, and then once you're done, after you synchronize it, by the way, there is a shortcut here as well. You can click that. You can just select OK. Because when synchronizing, you are also saving a local file. Okay? So you can always open the local file because it's already updated. Okay, so after you synchronize that, you can now close that file. So same with this. Okay? So you just synchronize any changes and then you can now close the file. Okay? So that's how you do it. Now, there are some instances that you need to move the central file to another location. For example, you are the BIM manager, so you want to move the central file to a network location so that the other team members can access it. So all team members need to access the central file by following exactly the same path. Okay, so if you want to move this, what you do is You just open the central file. So for example, this time I am the BIM manager. So where's the project? So here's the project, right? So I'm going to open this. I'm going to uncheck this because I want to open the central file. I open. So this is the central file and it's already updated. So you can see the dock and pipe there. The next thing that you do is you will know that the file that you open is central file if you notice that the save here is disabled, right? You cannot click that save. So meaning to say this file is a central file. So what I want to do, let's say I want to move this to another location. So you can say select here save as project, and then let's say you want to put it here to another network location. For example, this is location new. Okay, you go inside that, then just put your project. Before that, before you save, you go to options and make sure you check this to make this central model after save. Okay, and then just select open, okay, and then you can now save the file. So it will now becomes again the central file, different location. So I'm the B manager. I'm now going to close the central file. Now I will now become again the ducting and piping. So what I do is I'll create a new local file. Okay, so that's the location of the new project. So I just select that again and then just create again a new local. Okay, then open. Just override, just always override. Okay, there you go. The procedure is the same. So you can now again work on the model, synchronize the model, save, and then you can close when you're done. Okay, so basically that's how you work using a work set when you share your project using work sets. So that's how you do it. Okay, so just in case you mess up, you created an element under different work set. So don't worry about that. You can always select the object or elements and then you can change the work set. Okay, you can click the drop down and then you can change the work set. There you go. So it's now piping. So it's just like layers, right? So it's just like layers. Okay. So that's it. So hopefully you learned something from this video. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can put it on the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching guys and have a nice day.